Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing Mishnah Berurah Daf Hashor. We're learning the end of Siman Kid. Siman Kuf Yud Daled. Siman Kuf Yud Daled Seif Tes. Im B'yoyim Rishon Shel Pesach Omer Berchas Ata Gibar Ad Moed Hatal. Tishim Pa'amim Keneged Shloshim Yoim Sha'omer Oisai Shalish Pa'am Mechayim Misham Ve'elach Im Eino Zoicher Hizker Gashem Harehu B'cheskas Shaloi Hizker Gashem Ve'eno Tzarach Lachzer. We just learned in Seif Ches that if in the summer you're not sure if you might have mistakenly said Moed Hagashem, up to 30 days you have to assume you said the wrong thing. Likewise, if in the summer, if you're concerned, maybe you said or similarly, if in the rainy season you're not sure if you said Moed Hagashem, so for 30 days you have to go back. Why? Because for 30 days we assume that you said what you were accustomed to say. From there we could derive the following halacha. After the number of times of tfilos that there are in 30 days, which is approximately 90, then you get into the right habit. So then, like the Gemara in Baba Kama says, Im richek negichaisav, kirev negichaisav, like kol shekain. If an animal gores on 3 separate days, that creates a muad. Certainly if he gores 3 times on one day, it creates a muad. So if a chazaka is created in 30 days, maybe for sure should be able to create it in one day, if you say it 90 times in one day. So therefore the Mechaber says, let's read that one more time. Im b'yom rishon shel Pesach, if on the first day of Pesach, Omer berchas ata gibar ad moed hatal, you said ata gibar until moed hatal, tishim pa'amim, 90 times, keneged shloshim yom, keneged the 30 days, she'omer oisai shalosh pa'amim b'chol yom, that you say it 3 times every day. Misham ve'elch, from there on on, hizker geshem, if you're not sure if you mentioned geshem, harehu b'cheskas shaloi hizker geshem, we could assume he didn't say geshem ve'eno tzarach lachzer. You don't have to go back. So in the summer, if you say moed hatal 90 times, you could assume that you did not mistakenly say geshem. And then, now why does the Mechaber say it this way? Why doesn't he say that if on the first day of Sukkot you said 90 times Moed Hagashem, you could assume you said Moed Hagashem? The answer is because it doesn't matter, because for minhag of the Mechaber, minhag Sfard, they would say Moed Hatal is a valid replacement for Moed Hagashem. Says Rama, but for us, v'chen lididanim, Amar ad mechalkel chayim, b'loi mashrach Moed Hagashem, shemaskirin b'mois Hagashem, if you said Ata Gibar, le'olam Hashem, Mechaye Mesim Ata Rav Lahoshia Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed. So then you're creating Chazaka not to say Mashrach Meragashim. V'chein Im Amra B'Shmini Atzeres Tishim Pa'amim Ata Gibar Ad Moed Hagashem. Or, so this is for us, meaning the first thing that the Rama is saying is that for us, our chazaka is not by saying Moed Hatal, but rather our chazaka is by not saying Mashrach Meragashim. Or likewise, if on the first day of Shmini Atzeres you say 90 times Moed Hagashem, im nistapik achakach, im hisker, if you're masupik afterwards, chazaka shezkira, you could assume you said it. Okay, berchas ata gibar. Now this creation of Chazak is assuming you're saying Hashem's name, Ata Gibar Le'elam Adoi, and then Shem. Are you allowed to say that? You're allowed to say Hashem's name in vain 90 times. So in the Sefer Shulchan Shloimeh, he writes, Diyaschel min Mechaye Mesim Ata, that you begin from Mechaye Mesim Ata, V'loi min Ata Gibar, not from Ata Gibar. Shelo Yomer Hashem Levatala, so as not to say Hashem's name Levatala. V'im Yavoi L'shanois Haskaras Hashem. And Elamai, you'll say, I have a great idea. I'll say, Ata Gibar Le'elam Adoi, right? By the way, I once got, I don't know if I should say this. I once had to go to a wedding, and mamish in the last second, it turned out that there was an issue with the Masader Kedushin and the whole Ishas. And I was about to get called up for a bracha. I didn't know what I should do, whether I should walk out or I should fudge the bracha. Long story short, there was a guy next to me who was a relative, and it turned out he asked a shaila, and he was told that because he's so closely related, he was allowed to come so as not to embarrass. I don't know if this was correct, but I had to get up there and do Baruch Ata Adonai. What am I supposed to do? Yeah, I had to do that. So, I don't know, maybe I have to take that out of the, but in any event, the Mishnah Berurah is saying that maybe you should create the Chazaka, Ata Gibar Li'olam Hashem, Ata Gibar Li'olam Ado, say fudge Hashem's name, and then say either Masharach Marid Hagashem or say Marid Hatal. He says no. Shelo Yomer Hashem Levatala. So you, meaning maybe say V'im Yaveh L'Shanis Haskars Hashem Nechash Yaveh L'Shanis Achar Kach Bnei Herga Gam Tefillah. If you're going to say Hashem's name wrong 90 times, you might get into the habit of saying Hashem's name incorrectly. It's interesting. Good question. It's not a bracha levatala. Bracha levatala is when you say Baruch Ata. It's just saying Hashem's name. So it's not levatala. So this is a new thing, right? For example, yesterday someone asked me that I have to get back to them if the Gemara, the Gemara Nadarim on Yud Amud Beis says if you shouldn't even say Karban Lashem, lest you come to say Lashem Karban, lest you come to say Lashem. Mazkir Shem Shemaim Levatala Loi Kol Shekain. But is this Levatala? You're saying a shvach. You're praising Hashem. You're saying Ata Gibar Le'elam Hashem. The din is you can't say a bracha Levatala. But this is just Hashem's name and it's not Levatala. By the way, the Sharatzion later on in some Tav Kuf Pei Beis says, what about with Hamelech HaKadosh? Could you say 90 times, Hamelech HaKadosh, Hamelech HaKadosh, Hamelech HaKadosh, And this way, if you're Mesupik, if you said it, you'll have established the Chazaka. So he says, since the 90 times that you said Hamelech HaKadosh, you didn't say it with Hashem's name, we're concerned that next time you say Baruch Ata Hashem, you're not going to say Hamelech HaKadosh, you're going to say Hakel HaKadosh, because you never established a Chazaka to say Baruch Ata Hashem, Hamelech HaKadosh. So would that apply over here? Meaning, would that apply that it's not going to help to say, it's not really a different reason. It's not exactly a different reason. Okay, Ad Moirid Hatal. So the Mechaber says, establish the Chazaka to say Moirid Hatal in the summer, Va'ad Bechlal, including Moirid Hatal. V'hainu l'vnei Sfarad, Shenoagin l'hasker Tal b'Moisacham. This is according to the Bnei Sfarad, who their minhag is to say Moirid Hatal in the summer. Uladidan for us, Ad Mechalkel Chaim, until Mechalkel Chaim, Va'ad Bechlal. Ukil Kaman Bahaga. The Tam calls out the reason for all this is the Bezek Kfar Hurgol L'Shoynoi Loymar Kalacha. The reason for this is that you've trained your tongue to say the correct thing. Al Kain Hu Adin Le'inyan Shela. The same thing would be for asking for rain. Imamar Tishim Pa'amim Beberachas Hashanim. Ad achar tevas v'sein bracha b'mois hachamim, or ad achar tevas v'sein talumat b'mois hageshamim, die. So in other words, Baruch Aleinu Hashem L'kenos Hashem L'kenos Komenis V'asot v'sein talumat l'vracha pnei adama. Baruch Aleinu Hashem L'kenos Hashem L'kenos Komenis V'asot v'sein talumat l'vracha. I think we're already out of we don't need to do that anymore. We're already up to January 6th. December is the most stressful month of my life because of the v'sein talumat l'vracha issue. But you could do that. But you don't start from the beginning of Baruch Aleinu, right? In other words, you don't say Baruch Aleinu Hashem. You don't start from the beginning of Baruch Aleinu. You say ve'es kol minei svasala taiva v'sein talamat elevracha. Are you allowed to, on Pesach, say, Ve'ez kominei svasal teva v'sein bracha, ve'ez kominei, or is it hachana? Yeah, is it hachana? Because there is no v'sein bracha on Yom Tov. You're preparing for after Yom Tov. So is it considered hachana on Yom Tov for after Yom Tov? The Dirshu brings from Rav Shlomo Zalman, it's not considered hachana. But we know there is an inyan of hachana by dibur. Since there is a shinoi on this day that we daven for tal, you're allowed to. Not sure exactly what that means. Okay.
I don't start saying 90 times. You don't even say it with the look. It's just in words. When you come to say Shemay Na'aseh, your sugar filler, after you understand the higher nation, after why you say Mount Severiyah, because you said it 90 times.
Well, I don't.
It's not part of your saying it.
I didn't understand.
In other words, you can say Mashmiach, you're saying 90 times. But when you're going to say, after Giba Loilam Hashem, higher nation, when you say that, you're not saying nothing.
You're saying that how is it good enough to start in the middle of the bracha if you never establish the Chazaka saying it with the words Ata Gibar?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of similar to what the Mishnah Berurah says later on, that if you're just going to say Hamelach HaKadosh, Hamelach HaKadosh, you're not going to have a Chazaka if you never said it with Hashem's name.
Yeah.
I hear, Hara, I hear. Okay, Tishim Pamim, 90 times. So here's where the Chasam Sofer comes in. Uvitshuvas Chasam Sofer Chilek Arachayim Siman Chav Moira Uba. He instructs Lechatchila Amra Mea Pamim Ve'echa, to say it at least 101 times, because the truth is, in 30 tefillas, you have more than 30 days. In 30 days, you have more than 90 tefillas, because you have the Musaf of Shabbos, the Musaf of Rosh Chodesh. Let's say he's talking specifically about the first day of Pesach. So you have all the Musafim of the 8 days of Pesach. Amnam b'di'evet misha amarak tishimpam b'di'evet. If you just said 90 times, in bi'adein lifsak sheyachav yisval negeb psaka shachnach. We don't have the kayach to say you have to daven again because maybe you didn't say it against the psak of the mechaber. Sivkatan membeis. Harehu b'cheska shalei hisker dem horgal b'shaynoi k'sha'omer b'mefuzarin kavachomer b'retzufin. The logic of the mechaber is, like we said by Shar HaMuad, that if you can establish a chazaka in scattered form over the course of 30 days, certainly if you do it consecutively in one day. By the way, even though you could argue that maybe it just takes the human mind a certain number of days to acclimate yourself to it. Just like we learned last time, that if, let's say, after 30 days you realize, hey, I wasn't feeling well 2 days and I didn't daven, you've still established a chazaka. Why? But you didn't say it 90 times. The answer is, we said it's not the 90 times, it's that amount of time passage of the new change allows your mind to adjust to it. So then, then this argument of the Shulchan Aruch would not really hold up to that, even though nobody challenges this. So if that's the case, why is the halacha if you miss a tefillah?
Did we ever see that that's halacha?
Yeah, if you look in, I'm looking now in Sivkat and Lamed Zayin. Im shagag oy pasha be'izu yoyim v'loy hispala klal mikol makom loy hura chaskasai ve'ein tzarich lahashem k'neged ze yoyim acher ayin sham. By the way, but then the Machzas HaShekel and the Maimar Mordechai say no, they argue on the Taz. And I think they have a good argument, because we see from this next sif that it is 90 times, because if it wasn't, then how could you learn out that you could say 90 times in one day? You can't have it both ways. Dr. Phil, you hear my kasha, you hear the psychology? In other words, it can't just be that after a certain number of times, then you adjust to it, because we know that if you miss a few days of davening, you still have a chazaka. So then, if that's the case, then that means it's not the number of times; it's the number of days. So how do we learn it?
The Mechaber changes his lashon in Ches to Tes. In Ches he says Ad Shloishim Yayim, but in Tes he goes Tishim Pa'amim Keneged Shloshim Yoim. He seems to, the Mechaber himself seems to be changing his way of looking at it, whether it's a time thing versus a numerical thing, because of his Lashon changes in Ches versus Tes.
Maybe.
Maybe
It be either or, whichever comes first.
there,
It's Benson 30 times. It's Benson 90 times. But if you hit 30 days before 90 times, that's also good.
so what you're saying that you're saying it's 90 times, but if you hit 90 before
It's
30,
90 times or 30 days.
what do you mean? It's not. But okay, one second. Shas says 30 days. Yeah, that's all we know. From there, we want to extrapolate that it would be true even for 90 times. But if the halacha is, if you miss tefillos in the 30 days, you still have a chazaka, that means it's not 90 times, it's dafka 30 days. Now we're saying it's either or. How do you have a right to say it's either?
So how do you know to say that?
Reb Pinchas, maybe what the Mechaber means is it's a din only in 30 days. The 90 times is keneged 30 days. By doing it 90 times, it creates, I did 30 days in one day. It's not the pshat, it's, in other words, what creates a chazaka? It's not that the 90 times creates a chazaka. 90 times, there's no such thing. 90 times creates a chazaka. There's no din chazaka in 90. Chasam Sofer says it's a din in 101. But in the Mechaber, it's not a din in 90, it's a din in 30 days. There are two ways to do 30 days. You could do 30 days, and in that case, the pshat is, if I miss a tefillah or two, it's okay, I did 30 days. Or I could do 30 days by doing 90. That's a svara. I could do 30 days by doing 90. Maybe that's what the Lashon of the Mechaber is saying. And then that would answer our question on the Mechaber. That would answer our question. In other words, it's true if you miss a day, it's okay, because you still did 30 days. But if you didn't do 90 times, you didn't do 30 days in one day. There's only one day to do 30 days in one day, doing 90 times. There is a way to do 30 days even if you don't do 90 times. If you miss a tefillah or two. That's how I would.
But 30 days is not 90 times. Because if he doesn't daven in 30 days, he still has a chazaka.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
a time thing. It's not a repetition thing. That's a raya. That's not true.
It's a raya that it's not a times thing, it's a days thing.
No, that is purely that's times. Right. If a time thing is that 30 days has to pass.
I agree.
It's not within the repetition.
I agree.
Then where's the Mechaber get this from?
I think that Pinchas is being Dr. Pinchas is saying that's why the Mechaber phrases it. Tishim pamim keneged shloshim yom. In other words, how do you do a day? The definition of a day is 3 times. Not because you said it 3 times. What a day is, shachris mincha marav. If let's say you miscalculated and only did 89 times, you don't have 30 days. 30 days you could have if 30 days pass. 30 days in one day. Again, I just want to point out, the achronim that argue on the Taz and they say if you missed a time or two in the 30 days, then it's not going to work, they're much easier to understand. In their world, it's totally a din in times that you said it. Right? Repeated times. But in the world of the Taz, that you could miss a time or two, then that shows it's a din in days. Then what's the whole din of the Shulchan Aruch? We want to say that the din of the Shulchan Aruch is 90 times shafts, 30 days in one day. Right? That would be like a new understanding.
But the Mishnah Berurah says a lashon the imhorgable when you said it spread apart. That means it's a din in saying it in the 9 days, so that missing a tefillah it should be a problem according to that.
Again, v'imhurga v'shon mefuzarin kol shekavachomer b'rtzufin.
Saying it that amount of times.
Okay, I was asking on that. What's the kavachomer? Maybe mifuzarin. It just takes that amount of time, and I was proving it from the halacha of the Taz that it's okay if you miss. Right? It's a pircha in the kavachomer. The Mishnah Berurah makes the Kal V'chomer. You could ask a Pircha on the Kal V'chomer. How can you say Kal V'chomer Bertzufin? It's not a good Kal V'chomer because Mefuzarin you could miss a day, and Bertzufin you can't miss even one time. Okay, let's. V'kasav b'shari tshuva shem hirgal atzim memhei pamim shem keneged chamisha asayim misha avra acher chamisha asayim chazaka sha'amar ka again. If let's say you did 15 days plus 45 times, they could join up. Either the pshat is two lamdases, and we'll say either the pshat is look, you said it 90 times, or the pshat is I did 30 days. 15 of the days I did by doing 15 days, and 15 of the days I did by saying 45 times. That created 15 days. Okay, let's just finish up over here. Just 1 second. Okay. No, I want the recording to continue.
Recording in progress.
I just want to mute. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah continues. Ad mechalka chayim va'ad bechlal. It's not enough to say it's not enough to say mechalka. It's not enough to say. Mechaye mesim ata rav lo shia mashav aruch amar agoshem, but you need to also say mechalkel chayim. Why? V'imkein nisragel shana loimer rav lo shia mechal. In other words, this is going in the Ramah that we want to get into the habit of saying mechaye mesim ata rav lo shia, not moyer hatol, but mechaye mesim ata rav lo shia mechalkel chayim. V'yesh cholkim Ramah, but there's some argument on the Ramah that you don't have to say mechalkel chayim. It's enough to say mechaye mesim ata rav l'hoshia. Mechaye mesim ata rav l'hoshia. Right? You hear the shaila? We're trying to get into a habit of not saying Mashma Rachamar Hagoshem. In the world of the Mechaber, the Hergel is mechaye mesim ata rav l'hoshia moired hatol. So there, that's for sure good enough. You don't need to say mechalkel chayim. But in the world of the Ramah, you need to say mechalkel chayim. Otherwise, what kind of hergel is it? Ata gibar le'elam Hashem. Ata gibar mechaye mesim ata rav lo'ishia. Mechaye mesim ata rav lo'ishia. But maybe next time you turn around, you're going to say Masher Rachamar Hagoshem. The only way not to say Masher Rachamar Hagoshem is mechaye mesim ata rav lo'ishia. Mechalkel chayim mechesed. V'nachan lachas chachila shalasas ken lismei chazeh. Don't rely on those who argue on the Ramah. Ken kazav dechachem chayadam le'mashma ken. Ad moyed hageshem. Until Moed Hagashem, where you want to establish a Chazaka, the Ad Bechlal, including Moed Hagashem. Okay, Rabbi say, have a great day. Kol tov everyone.
Recording stopped.
Yeah.